I've been doing DNA activations for about, I'd say, 12 years or so. And I'll say a little bit about how I learned this and where it came from, and we'll start there. So, for you, those of you who don't know me, my name is Lori Ann Spagna, and I got into this work about officially, like formally, a little over 15 years ago, maybe, when my brother died of an unexpected drug overdose, and I started getting very clear messages from him in the non-physical realm about how my role in the world needed to change, that the path I was on was not my right path, was actually a very similar path to his path. He was drinking and drugging and using addiction programs to kind of suppress or exclude himself from physical world until he could get out, and he was going to be my wake up call, and that I was meant to sort of wake up from that kind of behavior. Even though I wasn't doing drugs, I was doing excessive smoking and drinking and spending and eating and shopping and caffeine, nicotine, all that stuff, and pharmaceutical drugs from well-meaning doctors. So once I started getting those messages from him, I very quickly started to write my course and get more aligned with my true mission, which was to be of service and contribution to animals. And I didn't understand that that included the human animal. So within a year of that happening, I moved to Maui, and I started getting into all kinds of esoteric practices. And I was studying with true masters, one of whom had really mastered his physical reality to the point where he could completely drop all physicality and be in a state of full consciousness, which really is like dying. And through his stillness, he would teach me, his student, and others like him, other students, how to completely still the body and have what he called a little death, which is a near-death experience. It's not an astral body experience. So that really brought me into like a oneness of just a wholeness of really a totality of all that is, that really realigned me so quickly that within 2 years of my brother's death, everything that I had just mentioned completely left my reality. Like I was no longer smoking, no longer drinking, no longer any of that. I had already quit my job and started doing a lot of psychic practice, and animal communication. Telepathy was a major lead in for me of the work that I would be doing. I learned a lot from animals. And then during those 2 years, while I was studying with that master and practicing with him, I was also meditating every night. And I was living in Maui. I would meditate through the evening on my back porch I lived on a golf course. And one of the particular evenings, I actually ended up having what I call an induction experience, first contact experience with my home family. I didn't understand it at that time what it was. It was really confusing to me. And this is all way, this is way earlier than 2012. So I just didn't know anything about like extraterrestrial life or any of that. I had no schooling in it. No one had taught me anything about that at that point. So I had this teletransported to a ship experience where a lot of activations were happening for me, and a lot of codes and things that I didn't really understand at that time. And when I was asking over and over again, what is this? Like, what's going on here? I would always get, you will know when the time comes, you will know. And that's really how it ended up happening. Things started activating in me, and I just started having a lot of knowings. And I started intuitively knowing how to activate my own DNA. That's where it started. Then I was doing it for my animals. Then I was doing it for small circles of friends. Then I started doing small groups, and it got larger and larger. And then about a number of years into doing DNA activations, I started to discover within the DNA even more specific information, which was codes and templates. So codes and templates in the DNA. And then I started activating those for myself and others. And as we did that, it just blossomed into more and more. So that's a huge part of what I do now. Although I am definitely like I'm your certified light worker, certified with no certification. I don't know how. I have studied all kinds of healing modalities and healing practices, and definitely gotten trained in certain healing practices and healing modalities, like Akashic records reading and different forms of healings, and but ultimately in animal communication, telepathy, and psychic development. But ultimately, all my training is really, I feel like, mostly from myself with the divine, and also definitely a lot through animals, and definitely a lot through the crystalline realm. We'll talk about that a little bit, and definitely a lot through the star family races. Plus just what was activated in me, it starts to come online. That's what happens when we start activating this dormant potential. So anyway, that's my story. I hope that helps you understand where this information is coming from and the energy. We'll do some activations, and this is part of why I was hoping to be able to have access to the chat so I could see, because you guys can definitely make, what I think I'm going to do, you're going to see a little weird wobble in the camera because I'm going to turn this on its other direction, so I'm looking more appropriately at the lens. Sorry. Yeah, that's so better, I think. Maybe not, I don't know. Yeah, so, but, and right, yeah, it's not, because now I'm looking there on it's weird angle. But so in any case, what I wanted to see, and hopefully maybe you are still doing the hosting, you can help me see the chat. I don't know if I can do it myself or what, but you guys can make some requests and some some comments. If I can find a way to see the chat. I can see the attendees. Oh, there we go. I just pressed the chat box. There it is.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that makes me so happy. Now I can connect with you. I like to connect with the people. That makes me so happy. Okay. Hi, you guys. Hi, Kathleen. Newbie, you say. Oh, that's good. That really helps me. So, all right. So, good. So now you know where I'm coming from. Now, for the people who are new and the people who are not so new, let's just go over, we're going to do activations today. It's like, that's the fun and exciting part, but let's make sure you understand. The linear brain wants to understand this before we do it, right? The mind wants to learn and to understand it in a more whole approach. So let's get this. This is the good stuff. The first two DNA, that's the DNA that everybody on planet Earth is operating from. And to the extent that you're more advanced, you're a starseed, you're a light worker, you're a healer, you're an intuitive. If you've ever done DNA activations before, you would already know some of this, but you would be beyond the first two strands. But let's just understand the baseline of humanity and the old planetary experience that we've had pre-ascension is we have two strands of DNA, and we're basically stuck with those two strands of DNA. And if you listen to mainstream medicine and mainstream science, for the most part, what they say is, these aren't the words they would say it with, but they're basically what you were born with, whatever genes were turned on or whatever genes were not. They'll refer to them as genes, whatever's turned on or whatever's not, and what you have likelihood for or what you don't have likelihood for. And the old mainstream approach is like, oh, if you have a propensity or a likelihood for breast cancer, you might want to take some kind of pill to suppress it, or get some kind of ridiculous toxic immunization, nice word, vaccine to suppress it, or you might just want to slice the breasts off. Never mind the fact that it's in the DNA, right? This is absurd, crazy thinking. But of course, because the Western science has been trained by the same people that is a pharmaceutical drug companies, those same groups and organizations own the schooling system and all of the training that goes into the Western medicine. It's a faulty system. It's inaccurate. And it's not about blaming or shaming. That's the old paradigm pre-ascension that we've been working with. Now we are all waking up, and that is called, we're going through this ascension experience. And if you're on this call, you're going through it. That's for sure. We're all going through it. Just right now, the vast majority of humans, they do not know it yet because they're still very anchored into that old system. They don't know. They've been trained by that old system. And until they start getting on calls like this, they're not breaking free from it. So the truth about those first two strands is that what they really are is the records of your ancestors. So the people, the family in your lineage who basically came before you, they stored up information for you energetically. The information was stored in their unconscious and was coded into their first two strands of DNA of their life experiences. And you, as a unique soul, and this is true for all of us, as we progress, we take stories and snippets from them and we suppress it or put it, and it gets stored up in our own DNA as codes. And those first two strands, I like to refer to them as the gifts that your ancestors either left for you as, clear and obvious. Like, for example, you've got beautiful blue eyes. Okay, that was a gift that was clear and obvious. You took it. You were like, yeah, I'm going to be beautiful this lifetime physically. Okay, great. So you took gifts. Or the gifts that were not expressed openly. In fact, they were suppressed. And those suppressed gifts are just waiting to be opened, like unwrapped presents under a Christmas tree, for example. So our job is to go and claim those gifts. Now, if they're a suppressed gift and they're unwrapped, that kind of gift would sound like, and a good example is diabetes, for example. Okay, your DNA, maybe your genetics say you have diabetes. Okay, that's really an unwrapped gift. The old paradigm doesn't know it. So your job is to basically unwrap that gift and discover what the gifts are of that diabetes, so it no longer needs to express as a suppressed diabetes. Now, we can say this about everything. We can say it about any form of sickness or illness or genetic issue that you have. So any disease on the physical level would be included in there. Cancer, breast cancer, diabetes, I mean, you name it. Okay, I can go on and on. We know the diseases. Those can all be 100%, I am 100% certain they can all be healed and resolved in this lifetime on the physical level. The same is true. I'm going to say why the healed and resolved has a caveat. Very important to say that. The same is true for a mental issue. For example, depression, which could also be conceived as an emotional issue. Chronic depression, extreme bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, even narcissistic personality disorder, which may perhaps be the hardest one of all because the narcissists themselves won't ask for it. They don't want it. They'll never show up to a place like this. They're in such a extreme state of denial, okay? But nonetheless, these are just examples. Physical, emotional, and mental disorders and diseases of every kind will show up in the first two strands of DNA as what I call unwrapped presents, waiting to be unwrapped so that the gifts can be revealed. Once they're unwrapped, what do you do with all the paper and the bows and the ripped plastic and the boxes? You basically, if you're good, you recycle it, which is what the divine does. It turns it back into love and light, returns it home to divine source or else what? If you recycle it, Mother Earth takes it and turns it into something else, okay? That's what we do. And what you're left with is the gift inside. And the gift inside is you no longer have those diseases. Now, here's the caveat: diseases, disorders, whether they're mental, emotional, physical. The caveat is that the average human who has those things has gotten themselves into such a state of density that they're not usually willing to do what it takes to heal it. They typically there's codes in those DNA. One of them is, I want a pill to fix me. One of them is, sometimes I don't want to work that hard to fix myself. One of them is a belief that everything's hard and difficult. So one of them is, it's not possible. Sometimes it's, I'm not worthy of it. I'm not deserving of it. I don't deserve it. One of it is, I have to suffer for myself, suffer for my sins. Like, all that stuff has to be cleared. And so the average person doesn't necessarily do the inner work that it takes to clear that stuff. That could be 12 weeks of healing sessions or countless DNA activations or a gazillion other things. It does not mean it's not healable. It means they have to be willing to do what it takes. And sometimes it means showing up, just showing up. Sometimes it means actually paying money to get themselves healing sessions. Nonetheless, the beauty of it is that everything is healable. And those first 2 strands, all of that stuff can be completely transmuted. Okay, I hope this is making sense. Feel free to enter things. Hi, Sue. Thank you for saying that. And thank you, Belinda, for saying I got chills. It's awesome. So, okay, so this is beautiful, right? Because as humanity catches on to this, and the healers of the world are catching on, the healers of the world are definitely, we're the ones bringing this information forward. And just by you being here for activations, this is part of how we clear that stuff out, because part of the activations is to clear out all those old programs like I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving, I have to suffer for the sins. If you're a shaman, for example, ancient shaman ritual literally said, if we suffer for our family or for our loved ones, they won't have to suffer. It's a false belief. It's not true, because the energy of suffering creates more suffering. But you understand, shamans did this. They're well-meaning, enlightened beings to a great degree, but they passed it down to their lineage. Again, that's all in the first 2 strands of DNA. Now, we're not here just to talk about the first 2 strands, right? We just know we have to clear that so we can be free from all this disease, disorder, depression, misery, suffering. Like that's old paradigm stuff. And that's the stuff we're not here. We're here to clean up, but the real gift, and a lot of this is just around the 2021 corridor, is what's beyond those first 2 strands. So let's talk about that. So if you're alive on planet Earth right now, and we all are, we have at least 10 more strands, at least, and there's way more than that, 10 more strands of what science used to call junk. So in 2012, credible scientists documented multiple credible scientific journals, which therefore, once that's done in science, the scientific community accepts it as fact through multiple research studies, right? That there are 10 more strands of DNA that they used to think was just junk. They weren't even dealing with it, which that's not really true either. They were, but that's like behind, and we weren't being told about it. And other places, they were exploring it, like Plum Island or Montauk Island. We weren't being told about what they were doing, and they weren't sharing that information, top secret. But okay, so 2012, they credibly document there are 10 more strands that are not junk. They are dormant. And that means they can somehow be activated and awakened. And that also therefore means there's something in them that has some kind of value. So when this happens, out of the blue, you start seeing in the public all these DNA ancestry tests, and get your DNA tested, because of course they want access to more DNA, to study more DNA, because now they need more. They need just more of the average person. They need to see what is this person carrying? What can this person activate? What can they do? What's good? What's their DNA good for? We've just been studying like animals and ETs and whoever we abducted, and we want masses. Okay, so they start studying more and more of the DNA, and this happened just this year, 2019, in the first quarter actually of 2019. Suddenly they found new genes in 4 new gene codes. So that is huge. That is so monumental for humanity, because the genes that they discovered in these other 10 strands that used to be called dormant, which were then used to be called junk, which were then called dormant, which they knew could be somehow activated and awakened, but they didn't exactly know precisely how, but they knew it was some form of energy. That's all been documented. Now suddenly they found this year 4 more codes. Okay, gene codes. So they're still trying to figure all that out, but this is really significant, because the reason they found that is because the light workers like us who work with the DNA are activating these genes in ourselves. So it's expressed enough that the physical world is now saying this is real and this is valid. So what that tells us here is that these other 10 strands that we've been working on, and all the codes and the activations that we're doing. And I'm saying we because we're here now, but me myself, I've been doing this for 12 years, at least 12 to 15, about 12 years actively. So, and all the people I know who I work with who come, I'll do my activation calls. We do them like all the time, not all the time. We do them typically always the Lionsgate portal, and usually on triple dates like 111 or 12 12 12 11 11 11. Next year there'll be 222 and 444. Those will be very big ones, right? These are the dates: February 2nd, 2020, April 4th, 2020. Look at the numbers. That's 222 and 444. Okay, so anyway, what it tells us is that these scientists are being able to find what we're doing in the non-physical world based on faith. Okay, this is why this work is real and valid and important. Now, why else is it? Let's talk about these other 12 strands, because this is the good stuff, or the other 10 strands, and then talk about what goes beyond that. Because we actually know as light workers and star seeds, we easily have at least 144 strands. Those are not showing up in the physical world yet, because we're still working on actively activating 12 strands. Yeah, the other 10 strands. But when we start getting really well activated as a collective with 12 strands, what that means is that the scientific community will be discovering more and more codes, and they'll understand more and more what it's good for, and then they'll be able to see at some point they'll be able to see beyond 12 strands. They can't see beyond the 12 strands yet because not enough of the collective has them activated yet. And so that means they're still etheric. They're still only in the non-physical realm. That's what, when we say they're still etheric, that's what that means. So, okay, but let's stay with these next 10 strands. I hope everyone's following me. I'm looking at your chat, so if you put something in the chat, I'll be able to see. And that helps me, follow, give you what you're, I know that you're following with me. So, okay, so the next 10 strands that are dormant that we're working on activating, those 10 strands have the codes for our future. And they have all the codes for what we need and desire and want in the new paradigm. The new paradigm, which is being birthed on planet Earth now in the post-2012. It's really post-2000. Well, it's really, but 2012 is a marker point that the Mayans knew that would be when we would start to really become conscious of this change. And that's where we have started. That is when this really started. The awakening of humanity really became conscious, even though it was slated for earlier than that. Even it was slated for the 60s. That's when you had Woodstock and you had John Lennon saying, let's all love each other. And Yoko Ono they would be naked in bed saying, let's just love each other. MLK was saying peaceful change. And John F. Kennedy was making attempts, right, to bring and unite the United States with Cuba. And anyway, so that was suppressed. That was all suppressed. And we don't need to go down that story today because that's not what we're here for. But nonetheless, in terms of linear time, the real birthing was happening in 2012 and is continuing to escalate and amplify for humanity. The 2020 to 2021, those 2 years are going to be so radical. So many massive amounts of people are going to awaken that the world will not be the same after that again, ever. And it will be better. It will be better because we're opening these codes in our DNA and we're clearing out the old programs and claiming the gifts from the first 2 strands. So these other 10 strands, what are they good for? They are the gifts from our descendants. Now, when I say the gifts from our descendants, what I mean is they're both the gifts we give to our descendants, and they're also the gifts that our descendants give to us. Well, what do I mean by that? The future versions of us, which include us, our children and our children's children. We could call them rainbow children. Some of them, we could call them crystal children, although, I mean, me, myself, I'm a crystal child. I'm also an indigo child. we are the indigo family races. So they're the gifts of our descendants that we give to our descendants by claiming the gifts now in those DNA. We don't have to clean it up. We just open it up. They're the unopened gifts waiting for us, coded into those DNA strands, those other 10 strands. And these gifts are also gifts from descendants such as star family races. So when we talk about star family races, we're talking about the benevolent extraterrestrials star family. We can talk a little bit about that, but just let me stay with the DNA. Understand the first two strands had gifts from ancestors, from star families too, right? They were from reptilian races. So strong analytical brain, hierarchical order, for example, those are reptilian gifts. The need to eat meat, that's a reptilian gift. That's in our DNA. People who really need to eat meat, that's reptilian coding. Sunburn, skin sensitivity, that's reptilian coding. That's a gift they gave to us because that was what was important for their survival. So we're humanoid species with those codes in us, and we've been running them. For me, just going back to explain that a little more, I know I cleared out a lot of that reptilian programming, that need to eat meat. I really don't eat almost any meat anymore, any animal meat, almost very rarely, if ever, sometimes just fish, because I could identify those codes in my first two strands of DNA, and because I have so much more Palladian. Now, Palladian codes, I'm looking at that question, I'll come to it. Palladian codes let us feed off the light of the sun. So I live in Florida. You can probably see that my skin is very pink. I sit in the sun every day, and I get just the right amount of color for me that I like and enjoy. That gives me like some color, but I never get burned, never. And I never get burned. And if I ever, like I've led dolphin swims, if I ever felt like it, I just put a little zinc on, because my body would say, yeah, just put some zinc on. But I don't get burned, and I don't have that problem because I cleared that from my DNA. I don't feel that I need that. And I replaced it with Palladian coding that loves the sun and feeds off the sun. And I do a lot of sun breathing, and I receive a lot of the codes in the DNA from the sun. So that's also another place where we can get this DNA activations. These codes come from the Son of God, light codes. So we're shifting, our bodies are changing from carbon-based to crystalline-based. So a lot of these codes that are in the DNA come from the Son of God. But we have to know how to work with the sun. If we're carrying reptilian codes that say you're going to get burnt by the sun and you don't know how to work with the sun, those codes will block you from it. That's what that reptilian coding did. You won't be able to necessarily get those codes, certainly not on your own, but someone like me who's a really effective code giver, that's part of my mission in life, will help you be able to receive them. And then that experience will change for you very likely. That's an example. Okay, where else do we get these codes in the DNA? We get a lot of them from the crystals. Why are the crystals so important? And these are a good example, right? You can see this is a crystal this one is from Brazil. So along the center of the Americas, North America and South America, is a big crystalline grid network. And a lot of the crystals are based in Arkansas. As many of you probably know, I lead crystal journeys to Arkansas where we go and work with the crystals. A lot of them are down Brazil. This is because that area of the planet is right between Lemuria, that was sunk in sea from there at that time. We put the codes for the future versions of us that's now into these crystals to help us. And the crystals have the consciousness that that's their mission to help us remember these codes. And they're in the DNA too. So the crystals give them to us. The sun gives them, Mother Earth gives them too, because Mother Earth is also ascending. And Mother Earth is storing up codes about what she herself needs from humanity and also for humanity.
So she needs things from us. She needs us to change in certain ways so that she can continue to elevate. And she also wants to give us things, gifts, so that we can continue to live in harmony with her as we ascend. So that's where some of the codes come from. So they're all in the DNA, but they're given to us like gifts that are given to us, waiting for us to activate. So we have gifts from other star family races. So for example, I talked about the Palladians. The Palladians really give us all kinds of gifts to be incredibly loving, to work with the brain matter in our hearts. We have brain matter in our hearts. We have just as much brain matter in our hearts as we actually have in the brain, usable brain matter. So our hearts are going to be much larger and more expanded, and the future of us is heart-centered, heart-based. And so Palladians give us tons of codes for being loving, kind, compassionate, understanding, forgiving, peaceful. Those codes are in us, and we just start operating that way more. Like even if things kind of go wrong, like you guys were on the call and you could tell we were having a little techie issues in the beginning, but rather than us all freaking out, we were like, okay, we're just working it out and we're letting it happen, and it'll happen just fine. We'll make it work. Right? So that's a perfect example of just a new operating system. Whereas an old operating system in 3D, people might have been a little differently, maybe not as patient, or maybe not as understanding, or maybe more frustrated, or whatever, right? This is a good example. That's very Palladian, because Palladians just, someone upsets them and they just naturally kind of default to, okay, that's all right, no problem, no worries, we'll move on. Like, let's just forgive and move on. All right, Syrians are, right, Sirius A, Sirius B, they've given us a lot of codes, and they love to amplify their codes, particular during the Lionsgate portal, which is August 8th. That's why we always do code activations then. They tend to be experts at working with geometries. They're wonderful at building things. They know how to repair things. So what are Syrians doing on planet Earth right now with their sacred geometries? The codes that are in us, they're teaching us how to restructure our water, how to clean up our water supply. The crystals are also helping with that. The Syrians also work with the crystalline realm. So how do you think we cleaned up the waters of Fukushima? We used crystals. We restructured the water. We got that intelligence from the Syrians, and that was activated in our DNA. Many light workers worked to clean up those waters and the waters of the planet. By the way, when we talk about dolphins and whales, members of the animal kingdom, they also hold codes. So dolphins and whales have been notorious for keeping the waters clean all around the planet and helping. If we didn't have them, our waters would have been already polluted. We would have not been able to survive. So those are codes. The more we activate them, the more the waters of our bodies get cleaned up. What is the water body? Yes, it's our saliva and the moisture in our body, but it's also our blood and all of the circulatory systems of our body. Those are related to Syrian codes in the DNA and related how Mother Earth, right? Those are codes in Mother Earth and codes in the crystal. So that's just one example, the waters. Even the way we build bridges is changing. The way we build, the way we do technology is changing. We're learning to use technology, some of us in healthier ways, some of us not yet. This is part of what we're changing on planet Earth. How do we interact with technology? How do we work with technology? A lot of that's given to us in the codes. So as we activate this, we're starting to learn how to deal with that. And that's coming from our Syrian ancestors, for example. I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but I just want to say a few more things because it's relevant to the 5G grid that's going up, right? And there's a lot of anxiety about this and how this is going to affect us. And we know this is not, it is generally more detrimental, the 5G grid, to have, Wi-Fi everywhere. But understand, at the same time, as we integrate our consciousness and we work with the crystalline grid, so many people are crystal grid workers. There's light workers who for many, many years, easily since pre-2000, who have been master grid workers, who have been working with the crystalline realm to build a 5D grid. So we learn about this a lot more on my crystal journey that I lead in Arkansas. But I do that every year. But the crystals are helping with us with that too. And that's part of how we're healing the earth and working with the earth. So there's this crystal grid network, and we wouldn't even know how to do that if it wasn't for the codes that we're getting from our star family races. For example, the Syrians, they're masters of this kind of work. So this crystal grid network, which is still being worked on and activated and built, that's being done by us because now we know how, because we're activating these codes within us, these Syrian codes, for example. Syrians aren't the only ones who give us that, but that's some of their greatest gifts to us. By the way, I would love to hear from you. Do you guys know what fracking is? Who knows what fracking is? I would love to see you put that in. Does anyone want to venture a guess in one sentence or less what fracking is? All right, let me let you sit with that, and I'll say a couple of other codes in the DNA. Sucking up the water table. That's true, but that's not the real reason we frack. But thank you, I love that. Who else? So I'll come back to taking out the minerals out of our earth. That's true, but that's even still not really why we frack. Anyone else? I love when we get to interact. So I will tell you the reason for fracking, since, this is Neil Gar, this is like Neil Gar's portal to ascension, where we're truthers here. We want the truth. The purpose of fracking is to screw up the crystalline grid. Is if they can get in there and screw with the crystalline grid, they can block humanity from awakening and activating these codes. Right? They know that the crystalline grid is there, and they know that this is a key for our awakening of our DNA. And they know that if they screw with the crystalline grid, they will be able to control people technologically through these cell phone towers and whatever else they're doing. Injecting toxic chemicalized fluids into the earth. That's part of it too. So all of those are true. But the real reason is they want to mess with the crystalline grid, because that crystalline grid is a grid network that when we anchor into it and we start aligning with the crystal grid, we can activate our DNA. We can awaken the codes within us. We have the solutions to heal Mother Earth. We can counterbalance all these things they're doing. We can heal the toxic chemicals of just like Fukushima, for example. And I can promise you the solutions to what's going on in the rainforest are in us too. We will be given codes. I've already been told that the templates that I'll be giving on my 1111 call that I'm doing, those templates have the solutions to what's going on in the rainforest. Isn't that amazing? And I was given to them in time for the 8/8 activation, but we had 3 hours of activations on that call. I couldn't get to them all. I know Susie, for example, I know you were on that. So I think you were on that. Anyway, so is the crystalline grid line with the ley lines? In the earlier days, they were. This is deeper than we can go into here right now. Yeah, Amazon rainforest. Yes, that's what I said. So the Amazon rainforest is experiencing massive fires right now. A lot of people don't know because, of course, mainstream television's not talking about it. But that's the lungs of the earth, right? And when we have trouble breathing, and next year, by the way, is an air year. So the air is going to be an issue next year. And wildfires in Siberia also, yes. So when we talk about this is like, okay, that's us. If we have time, we can come back to it, yeah? And if you really want it, I'll stay on it, but I want to try to stay with the DNA. But because the point is that, yes. So the point is that all these activations we're getting are basically helping us to come up with the solutions. Like we're basically now have the tools to solve the water issues. We're basically with the crystal grid network having the tools to solve the technology issues. Next, we're going to have, we're learning the tools to solve the earth issues. Next, we're going to be learning a lot more about the air issues, because the air issues are going to become what we address next year more with these wildfires. And what is the air? The air is the lungs and the capacity to breathe and take in life. The ability to take in life. and to breathe and to live, right? This is the life force, breath. So that's coming up as an issue on planet Earth right now for us to address. That's what these fires are. And fire is ego out of control, right? I mean, that's just what fire is. Wildfire, ego out of control. So, okay, I can see somebody put in some links on how those fires are being covered on Democracy Now, which you can take a look at that. Anyway, we're praying for rain. And the good news is that we're still in a year of North Node in the House of Cancer. This is linking into astrology. So this is still a water year. So there is good news. There is water coming. We will see a lot more water coming in the coming months, especially as we move into the winter months again. And I know that's South America we're talking about, so there's like a flip in it, but nonetheless, there will be more water coming. I know that. We're still in a water year. So, okay, but getting back to the DNA, I hope that's helpful. There's going to be a lot of prayers for rain and water, and what is rain coming down? Rain is sadness. And sadness isn't a bad thing when we learn how to process our emotions in healthy ways, right? So that's part of what we're doing. But even that is in the DNA, because here's what I didn't say earlier. Some of you may have heard me say this before. In order to get past the first 2 strands of DNA and activate into the 10 strands and beyond, there's like, we could call it a portal. It's not really a portal. It's a gene in and of itself. It's a coded gene. And does anyone know what it is? If you've heard me say this before, you will know. You can put it in the chat. But that coded gene is, I'm going to give the answer now unless you type really fast. It's compassion. So compassion, the compassion gene, is what activates and opens the capacity for the heart to feel, and for us to start moving into heart-centered caring and loving and all those wonderful frequencies of the new paradigm that are based in love and peace and joy, right? And that when that compassion gene is activated, the ability to really care about Earth, about ourselves, about one another, that's when we can start accessing the other 10 strands of DNA. So, 10 strands of dormant DNA. So I hope this is all making sense. Needless to say, there's a couple of other things in the DNA that are so worth mentioning. That I haven't mentioned yet, and I want to make sure I do. Early on in the first strands of DNA, as you start activating, you get more psychic. No question, you get a lot more psychic. You get a lot more telepathic. You get a lot more empathic. And those are some of the first things you have to start navigating, because when you're empathic, that's when you start having all of us walk around being like, I'm feeling everybody's stuff and I don't always like what I feel. And I'm such a sensitive, and we get really sensitive. And that sensitivity serves us because we realize we have to keep our energy clear, and we start working on cleaning our own energy out. And then that further triggers activating other DNA, other strands, because those are just like the first 3 strands of, I'm saying approximate 3 strands after the first 2, because that's what levels you up into 5D. When you've got 5 strands of DNA activated, really activated, you're living in the 5th dimensional paradigm, even though everyone else around you is still unconscious, right? Because this is the agreement. Everybody gets to level up into 5D. So you're still interacting with everyday folks who have no idea about this stuff, and they don't necessarily know. And most of them, even if they do, they don't speak about it because they're still hiding behind their spiritual closet, or maybe they're, spiritual bypassing. They're just trying to learn about it, but they're not activating or keeping their energy field clear yet, right? But you're becoming more and more sensitive as you start clearing out those first 2 strands and activating, the gene for compassion is now wide open. You start caring about everyone and everything and yourself. So of course you're more empathic, more sensitive, more psychic, more aware, more telepathic, more able to hear awarenesses. You start hearing the humming of the earth, maybe the om of the earth. You hear that humming of the earth in the mornings, especially on Sunday. That's very common. You have to work through your own ascension symptoms, sometimes heart palpitation, sometimes dizziness or lightheadedness, or this kind of new expansionness, like, where am I? I'm here, there, I'm everywhere, because you're leveling up into a new 5D paradigm. It's not happening outside of you, it's happening inside of you. It's happening from within. It's not somewhere you just go to. You don't put on your hiking boots and say, I'm headed to 5D. You don't put on some kind of parachute. No, that's not what it is. It's waking up in you. And that DNA that's being activated is making you explore your environment in a new way, because now you're so sensitive and you can feel other people's stuff, and a lot of it's uncomfortable. And all right, now this is sounding familiar to people, right? Does this make sense to everybody? Give me a yes in the chat if it's making sense to you. Yeah? Because I'm thinking that if you're on this call today, even for, yes, I see your yeses, thank you. Because even for like Kathleen, yeah, you're all saying yes, right? Because this is what we're going through. So even for Kathleen, who says you're a relative newbie, and I love that you said that, I'm not surprised if you're experiencing that too, right? Those are the first 3 strands. That's what we go through. Okay, I think I made that clear. Telepathic, sensitive, empathic. Why? Because by the time you're really more anchored in 5D, that's when you're like, I'm a healer. I think I can heal myself of this. Why? Of course you can, because you've activated those strands. If you're mostly living in 5D and you're walking around like 90% of the time, at least 80, 85% of the time, where you're like, okay, I'm in a dream, and oh, I feel that. Oh, I feel that. Oh, I sense that. I'm getting triggered. I'm getting activated. Oh, that hurts. Oh, that feels good. Oh, my heart's palpitating. Like those kinds of experiences. And your natural go-to is, let me forgive, let me release. You're already doing things like Ho'oponopono. You're already like blessing things. You're already practicing meditation, breathing. Like, for the most part, you're doing that most of your life on a regular basis. Walking barefoot, you're doing the earth thing, you're grounding into the earth. You're doing that stuff pretty much most of the time, like, or a good chunk of your life. You're in 5D, baby. That's what it is. That's where we all are. We're on this call. We're here, right? That means you've got basically the most of your first 5 strands of DNA activated. Doesn't mean you don't still have some of it. Doesn't mean you're not going to get triggered by something. Doesn't mean you're not going to, doesn't mean that you haven't cleaned out all the first 2 strands perfectly. You might still have depression in your family, or you might still have sometimes bouts of emotional depression. Like, that's doesn't mean it's all perfect. It just means that's a good gauge. Okay, that's a good gauging. And you just keep the course. You keep going. You keep doing clearings. You keep doing activations. You keep doing awakenings. You keep doing healings. You keep meditating. The whole thing, right? It's a journey. Ascension is a journey, not a destination. So you get into 5D reality. Now you want more of your own tribe. You want to be around more and more of your own tribe, right? That's why we do calls like this. That's why we do meditation circles and sacred retreats and sacred rituals. And we do classes and workshops together, because we get to unite and we connect on this common ground. I mean, there was not one single no here. Like, that's so awesome, right? We all understand the experience, even though we might have gone through it alone. We are coming together and realizing, yes, like I love the yeses, because it's where we really feel that connection, right? That unity. So, all right. So, and I mean, I think if you're on this call, you know the 5D thing. If you don't, I mean, you definitely check out my YouTube channel. I just put a really good new video on, like, side-by-side comparison, 5D, 3D, right? But the idea is to understand, the overall idea is that 3D is the old paradigm that's based in fear, control, domination, manipulation, reptilian servitude, draconian servitude, unconsciousness, entities, demonics, everybody feeding off your energy, a vast amount of just heavy, dense, massive amount of like, life sucks and then you die. We call that dross and luge. And these beings basically feeding off that, we're not even knowing. We're just plugging through life thinking that death and disease is normal. No, it's not. Poverty and lack and misery is normal. By the way, that's also coded in the first 2 strands of DNA. Poverty, lack. Like, if your ancestors lived, during the Great Depression, and they lived a life of poverty and there's not enoughness, you're going to be having an experience like that until you clear and resolve and claim those gifts, because the gifts of abundance and prosperity are a 5D, right? All right, but let me stay on track because I can go on. You hear, I can go on forever about this stuff. So that's the old 3D paradigm, and the new 5D paradigm is where we align with our star family races. We become intergalactic members of an intergalactic race, and we activate more and more of the DNA of the gifts that we want to receive. So for example, some people might hear me and say, you know, I don't want to feed off the sun. I don't want to be a breatharian. I love eating food, and I'm okay with eating animals, but this time from now on, I'll make sure it's always grass-fed, free range, no hormones, no genetically modified. Okay, that's a choice, and you can change that in the future if you choose to, or maybe you won't. We don't know. But the point is it's not like everybody's going to be choosing the same things, but it is going to be a conscious choice based on new frequencies of intergalactic harmony. The foundational energies of 5D are harmony, peace, love, kindness, compassion, forgiveness, understanding, joy, liberation, sovereignty. Liberation and sovereignty and freedom, by the way, those are codes. Those are codes. So over here in the old paradigm, there's codes: slave, slave driver. Those are coded into the DNA. And especially if you're, for example, a Black person in the United States, you've got slavery. I mean, all of humanity has slave, slave driver. You don't have to be Black. If that's in your ancestry, that's definitely imprinted in a big way for someone who comes from literally linear slave family. Okay, but it's all of humanity. If you're working 9 to 5, that's slave, slave driver programming. To me, the 9 to 5 job, which isn't even 9 to 5 anymore. I mean, it's like I remember when I was in corporate America, I was working 12 and 15-hour days, like nonstop, 6 days a week. Crazy. That's slavery. That is slavery. Just the fact that you have to call somebody on a day you don't feel like going into work is slavery. Just the fact that you have to get a doctor's note if you miss work, it's slavery. That is slavery. So the bulk of humanity is still operating. That's the 3D paradigm. 5D paradigm: freedom, liberation, sovereignty. So, okay, I can go on, but I hope that makes sense, right? If 3D paradigm, victim. I'm a victim. There's nothing I can do. I'm just stuck with this. Someone did something to me. Like, all that stuff is coded in the DNA. And the clearing of that is the liberation and the sovereignty from it and the freedom from it. And that's the new 5D paradigm that we're all leveling into, because in 5D, we're motivated by what joy do I have within me that will allow me to be of service and contribution to the world and to others in a better way that feels good and right to me. And that really helps humanity. And that's birthed from within the heart. And by the way, it's of course coded into your DNA because you left those codes for yourself. A future version of you left those codes for yourself in the dormant DNA for you to activate and for you to claim like gifts that are waiting for you. So, all right, let me take a breath here because I think I've explained the bulk of what the DNA is, how it served us, what the purpose is. Let me just get a little bit about where we're coming from, where we're going to, because I want to get into activation. So this would be a good time for questions. We're about an hour in. So we could do some questions and
Lori,
can do activations after. Yes.
can you see the Q&A box at the bottom?
I just had the chat box on. So let me close the chat.
There's a Q&A box
how do I get this?
at the
how
bottom.
do I get that?
If you click
here's
the
Q&A.
Q&A at the bottom.
Okay.
And
Answered.
the question from
there we
Susan.
go. This is a tremendous amount of.
Yes.
I can see Q&A open and answered.
Yes.
No questions opened. And then answer 3. Is that what I'm supposed to look at?
Yeah, look under the answered one from Susan, please.
I don't see that.
There is She
Oh,
says,
that one. Yeah, I see
yeah.
that. To help heal the people of the planet. But as you know, these have been blocked quite often from past governments, etc. Are those that are moving forward with these solutions now more protected? I will tell you, I've been incredibly protected. I know I've been I've gotten some bad attacks, but amazingly protected. So many of us, especially when we carry codes of 1111, my codes are 111111. That's coded into my birthday. And I just, that's sacred numerology, which we don't have time to get into, but not everybody's protected, but certain star seeds and light workers are really protected. The fact that we're still here and we're alive and we're doing this is that we're protected, because you understand, like MLK wasn't protected, JFK, John Lennon was murdered. I mean, it's just three examples of that are three of the most famous ones. But so a lot of star seeds who are out there teaching and doing this work, we are protected. We have been very protected, in spite of the fact that many of us have also been clobbered and gotten a lot of crap happen to us. But nonetheless, let's address this in an even better way. And that is to say that most of these very malevolent forces have been and are being still escorted off planet. I only can say this psychically, so I have no real evidence on a physical level that that's true. And I will say that if you're in the conspiracy movement, and a lot of Neil's community is, you understand there's different timelines. This is a whole different conversation. So timelines are points in time and space, which are non-spatial, where collectives have an agreement, collectives of individuals, sub-collectives, to have experiences. So let's say you've got a conspiracy person whose job is to be a truther. And these are very important jobs on planet Earth. So in their experience, they're sharing about how these very dark, evil people are doing things. On their timeline, it's still going to be happening, because that's the nature of the role that they're playing, to help humans level up who don't know about that and come into the truth where that has been happening. However, it's very important to understand that's only a timeline. I'm on a timeline as a light worker because my job is to show people where we're going and where we end up, even though there's no ending up. The timeline I'm on is where that no longer exists. So on my timeline, those people have been systematically being escorted off planet, mostly through Antarctica and other portals, including certain dark holes, and including certain Nibiruan. If you're familiar with the Nibiruans, the Anunnaki, those guys are all gone. But when Nibiru comes back and makes the circle home, some people think that's going to be like an end of the world. That's a timeline they're on. They're running what I call, this is also in the DNA, they're running an Armageddon program. We clear that off. On my timeline, we have cleared the Armageddon programs off. Armageddon programs are from end of world scenarios. That's in the DNA. You have to clear it out. But if they're on that timeline, they might have experienced that. I have no, just me or anyone in my life. So you understand what I'm about to say is that they're gone. And if there's some of their remnants are still here, okay. The Clinton and Bush crime family, Obama's in there. They're still in that, for example. So some of them are still walking around on planet Earth. Dick Cheney, But for the most part, a lot of them have been escorted off planet. That's part of the Mars project, by the way. Most of them are going to just physically end their life. George Bush Sr., his wife, example, their life comes to a natural end. So that's what's happening. So very important timelines and what you buy into and believe, because when those conspiracy things are true, that's their job and mission, is to help people learn about that stuff so that they can move past it. But you don't want to get too stuck in that for too long, because it's a timeline, but there's timelines beyond that where that's no longer part of the reality, where that becomes past. And the timeline where I teach from that's part of the past. The remnants of what they left behind is what we're cleaning up. So that's why we do DNA activations, because we have it within us to clean this stuff up. Okay, I hope that answers that question and makes sense. Yeah, let me know if that makes sense. Okay, do I see any other questions here or no? I don't see any others.
There's one more up, yes.
Okay, one more. I don't see further up. I just go back to open.
Yeah, the Q&A.
Why would a soul being love and light make a contract to do something that is not to be not loved? Okay, this is a very common question, Donna, and it's understandable. We all ask it, like, why would we agree to this? So everything I understand is that the agreement of the third dimensional paradigm was to expand consciousness way beyond what consciousness was. So the only way that consciousness could really be expanded was for consciousness itself, because understand divine source, however you refer to this divine source, infinite consciousness, creator God of all that is. That's how I refer to it. It's infinitely conscious. But in order to expand consciousness, it itself had to become unconscious of itself. So in order to become unconscious of itself, it had to write scripts and codes that it coded into itself so that it could be unconscious. At the same time, it also had to keep dormant codes in itself to recover its consciousness. So the first two strands of DNA are all the dormant codes of unconsciousness. Only in unconsciousness, to expand consciousness, could it ever do all this crappy, shitty, miserable stuff that we have seen and witnessed and experienced firsthand, many of us. So I hope that makes sense, right? So we programmed it into ourselves to expand consciousness, to learn more, we could say, about what love is not, because love really is all there is. Love includes divine source, creator God of all that is love. It is love. It is a frequency of love and peace and joy and kindness. But in order to not be that, to expand beyond that, it had to write some codes that would make it unconscious of itself. And those codes, we could refer to them as sacred contracts. That's true. But we're really so far beyond contracts at this point, because we've cleaned enough of that out now that it's no longer contracts. We just have to clean out the old corrupted codes. These are corrupted now. They're just like malware running on your computer, old viruses that are just running rampant in the old paradigm, because we're still cleaning them out of our DNA and we're still activating the appropriate codes within us to resolve all of it. Does that make sense? I hope that answers that question. I'm seeing Donna say yes, that helps. So yeah, we had to go unconscious. It's crazy. And so now we're here recovering our consciousness. And now I see Joan asked, I want to hear about the animals of the DNA. You haven't mentioned that yet. Okay, thank you for reminding me that, Joan. So animals, the thing that's really fascinating about animals, I definitely put the wrong bra on today. I thought I was matching in colors, but it's sticking out, so sorry about that. So this is me. I'm so casual, right? Okay, so animals, this is big. So the animals, all right, first of all, I'm assuming that if you've ever had a pet, you know, I use the word pet is not their word, but an animal companion, you know that animal companions they just automatically forgive. They don't have to learn forgiveness. They automatically love. They don't have to learn love. Like, they just automatically are very pure, right? And I always say animals are the ultimate empaths. They taught me that. And that's true, because the animals feel, sense. They don't have to learn psychic abilities. They're already telepathic. They pick up on all our thoughts. And it's true if they're new to the family for an animal companion. I'll include wild animals, non-domesticated animals too, but just starting with what we understand best from our minds. Animals don't have to learn telepathy to learn. They just already are. They are already using more of the right than we are. So we're having to learn how to open and activate and use our right brain. That's connected to our pineal gland and our pituitary gland, also called the third eye. We have to activate that and awaken it. We have to decalcify it. I know in this group, you already know, like, it's the fluoride and the genetically modified foods and the artificial sweeteners and, you know, all fake food and nanotechnology that's in McDonald's, all of that mass crap food that's fast food. It has nanotechnology in it, designed to shut people down and turn off their DNA and shut off their pineal glands and their pituitary glands. But anyway, so animals already have this naturally activated, their right brain that's just aware and just knows, doesn't have to sit and analyze. It's like, doesn't have to sit there and be like, okay, square, rectangular subject matter, black thing on the back, what is it good for? They're just like, oh, there it is. By the way, this, you got to get this on all of your technology. This is called shungite. It's a crystal. You can get shungite, flat shungite like that. You can get that on all of your computers and technology, all of your house. You can get on Etsy really cheap from Russia, or you can buy it at any kind of fairs, you know, expos and things. We learn about this stuff in my crystal retreats things. Definitely get yourself some shungite. Anyway, put it on everything, put it all over the house. It absorbs all the technology, right? And deflects, does not allow radiation to just move through the house. It absorbs the chemical radiation, technological radiation, bad EMFs. Shungite, it's going to become probably expensive in a few years, or, well, maybe by then we'll have changed our money system. So yeah, cancel clear. By the time people recognize the value of this, we will have changed our money system for the better. Thank you for telling me. That was psychic right there, reminding me not to say that, because it's not the truth. So that's good news. All right, well, anyhow, coming back to the animals, sorry. I hope you don't mind that's the way I teach, because it's so free form, right? But so the animals already have that awareness, and they already have their heart center open. They don't have to activate compassion genes. All right, they're already there. So what's going on is, what the animals did was they embodied themselves. God, source, creator, embodied itself through the animals as a way to kind of maintain its own consciousness about what's going on, but still with egoic identity. So animals still have egoic identity, just like we do. You know, I'm a dog, I like walks. You know, I'm a cat, just don't bother me, but I'm gonna move interdimensionally and do my work, you know. Or, you know, I'm a bird, I just want to sit up here and watch and sing. But yes, I'm a bird, right? They still have personality and they still have egoic identity, but they also are much more conscious than we are of their experience. And they're much more consciously aware without having to analyze it. And they have also been able to go under the radar a lot from the old reptilian programming and a lot of that old DNA programming. So while they do have some of it entangled in their DNA, they have less corrupted DNA. They've been left alone a lot more from humans, mostly because humans decide to just slaughter them and eat them and not give a shit about them. So in that sense, they've been a lot less corrupted than we have. They have fewer bad coding in their DNA and less malware that we have to clear than we have to clear out. So that gives them the ability, actually, in their consciousness to serve their humans. So the animals who live with humans are serving their humans by largely empathically absorbing a lot of what they have and Also, in many cases, transmuting it to the best of their abilities. By the way, where's my Kiko? Where's my Kiko? Do you know, isn't it funny? My dog's name was Kiko. I didn't name her that. I adopted her in Maui. She was already given the name Kiko. And she is, I literally call her like a little Syrian dog. She's so like that. And her name is Kiko, and I do key code activations. I just think that's so funny. I never made that connection until only like a year ago. It was a client who said it to me. And I was like, oh my God, this is why we can't see our own stuff. Like, I didn't even realize that. Because she didn't even tell me, although I definitely always knew she was a Syrian being, like who chose to be embodied in her dog body, like with a human who would be as conscious, and that we would work together and she would be giving me a lot of stuff, but I just never made that connection. Funny, right? Anyhow, so this is what they do. They come into our family and they're helping us. And when an animal companion, no matter what the breed or species, is with a very conscious human, that animal tends to be much more conscious as well. When an animal companion is paired up with a very unconscious human, that animal tends to be much more unconscious as well. In fact, I have in my past tried to, connect with animals who are with people who are just really like, the person would be asking me for information from their animal, and the person themselves, I could tell, was just like not that smart, like just really disconnected. And I had a much harder time getting the information from the animal for the person, because the animal was more unconscious too. They'd be like, huh? Yeah, I'm just an animal. Like, but don't you want to share anything? Is there something you want to share with your human? Or, huh? Oh, yeah, okay. Like that kind of thing, right? So those are frequency matches. We call that a frequency match because an animal is going to match the frequency of the human, just like that's law of attraction, right? We attract to us what our natural frequency is, and we radiate out our frequency, and we attract back to us that which is a match, right? So those are frequency matches. This is also relevant, by the way, in the DNA, because obviously if your DNA has code for a frequency of stress and anxiety, but you start clearing that stuff out, that's not going to be your experience anymore. If you're got a frequency match for poverty and lack, which is like a density or tightness, constriction, that's going to be a natural match for experience, right? So that's part of why we want to clean out this DNA. But again, the animals, they have a lot less of that. So I hope that makes sense. Let me just address a little bit more with wild animals now. The same is true for wild animals, or animals who are, not domesticated. They have different roles and responsibilities in addition to those. So wild animals tend to be particularly responsible for the area of the planet where they reside. So for example, whales and dolphins, a very easy example, they are responsible for the waters, as we mentioned. And so the frequencies that they emit, including their songs, those high-pitched songs and high-pitched frequencies, are cleaning the waters, and that's part of their role, as we referred to. The elephants, a great example, the reason they have such huge brains is because they're holding records. They hold all the Akashic records and the history of Earth. So not every elephant has the history of all of Earth, but all of them have unique pieces of information. And so when you learn animal communication telepathy, if you dialogue with elephants, they're incredibly, so wise about information, like the wisdom keepers. They are wisdom keepers. I was in Africa on a tour, and I came a few arms lengths away from the trunk of an elephant. And this elephant looked directly with one of her eyes into my eye. I was having a hard time because I was with all 3D people. I was super sensitive, and the people around me, all I felt was misery. And I was so happy to be on the tour, but I wasn't in my happiness because I was just so empathically surrounded by so much unhappiness. I was on a truck, not a truck, a bus in the closed space with some very unhappy people for an extended period of time. It was a 3D tour. But anyway, this elephant, she looks right into my eye. And I knew, when you're an animal communicator, it's not yours because you couldn't generate it. You did not generate that. And she says to me, remember who you are. but those were the only words. But the energy she sent to me was complete remembrance of the truth of who I am, like me as an individual being, but also me as a God sovereign being. And in that moment, it was so transforming for me, because what she was saying is, as you remember yourself, you won't be taking on their other stuff as much. You'll be able to be happier. You'll be able to enjoy yourself more, because you've forgotten who you are in the presence of everybody else who has forgotten who they are. And she knew it all. She didn't even have to say all the words. She just gave me that one sentence, an activation, and it was like, I got it. Oh, it was so huge. So elephants, and of course, all of the animals, they all have different roles depending on where they live. And we could spend hours going through that. In fact, I teach whole courses on animal communication where we cover that in a lot more depth, but at least hopefully that helps you. So animals definitely do have gifts. So for example, in my most recent speed activations call that we did, where we activate the DNA, that was on the Lionsgate portal, the dolphins came in on that particular call. I've had animals of all different species come in and channel, and I've channeled animals. I mean, that farm animals have so much to say about humanity and what they want from us and for us and what they ask, and etc. But anyway, these dolphins came in and they said that they were aware that, and this was channeled. I mean, I just wasn't even prepared for it. Just came right through. They were aware that a lot of humans have been using serpents to activate their kundalini. They're saying that's old teachings of an old paradigm, and that they were inviting us to call in dolphin energy instead when activating our kundalini, because the dolphin energy is much cleaner and purer than old serpent, which is reptilian energy. Serpents are reptilian programming, stealing the sexual energy. That is really true. That's what they did. They siphoned off sexual energy. And by the way, there's in the DNA sexual misery programs that need to be cleaned out, sexual dysmorphia programs. That's why you would see someone like Bruce Jenner, who's massively imprinted with that, go, I have to slice off my penis. Now, I'm not criticizing, and I absolutely honor his choices, her choices now, because now she is a woman and she has embodied the feminine energy and she has made her choice, and that's fine. I have no criticism, no judgment, no wrongness. I see that her contract was to help people accept and become non-judgmental, and other things related to resolving sexual misery and sexual dysmorphia, and that's part of the role she's playing. And so we are learning from that, and there's no wrongness in that. However, it's helpful for us to understand also, as awakening beings, it is not normal, nor is it healthy, to slice off a part of your body in 5D. It is unnecessary, because we can clear out programs that are corrupted that would tell us that it is normal to slice off a part of our body. It's not wrong to slice off a part of our body if that is our true joy, because as I understand it now, Caitlin, is much happier and more fulfilled as a woman. And so then I honor her choice, because that was the right choice for her. But in 5D, it's unlikely that we would make that choice. It's more likely that we would choose to fall in love with the body that we have and accept it the way it is. And then it would naturally change. And if we still made that choice, it would be from a much more, I'll say, conscious place, or perhaps maybe a different perspective. So I know this is a hard thing for me to even say, because I'm not making it wrong or condemning or judging, but I am using it as a learning tool for us, right? So, okay, I don't know how I got off on that tangent from the animals, because this is what happens when you have a full brain and a lot of information just comes in for us to learn from. Oh, the dolphins. Thank you. Somebody thought it. So the dolphins were saying, don't use a reptilian program to activate your kundalini. Use a new Syrian program, because that's one of sexual enjoyment, sexual pleasure, honoring the sexuality and the sensuality of the body, and that it's natural. And anyway, so that's dolphin consciousness. came in for that. So, all right, I have gone on for a long time. I'm very elaborate with answers. I like to give long answers so that I can go into them in depth, but I see that I've covered them all. I don't think there's any more, right?
Lori, there was one more question that was
there was?
early in chat. Yeah, it was early in chat. It was basically about the activation and whether it will be a group activation or for individuals specifically.
Well, you know, what you can do, it's not for individuals. It's always a group when we have this, because we're doing a group call. But what happens with the activations is we activate something that serves the whole group. So you can make a request, and we can do it for the whole group as long as it's for the group. As long as it's not like my great long lost grandmother left, you know, something like, just as long as it's something that's, so if they put it in the chat again, I can see it. Oh, Vera got kissed by an Indian. So cool. All right, so Zachary wants telepathy. So I'll just say a little thing about this. So we can do, this isn't so much of a DNA thing in terms of what I was just going to say, but to have telepathy, there's two key things you have to first have. One is you have to decalcify the pineal gland and the pituitary gland. So third eye activations are very good, right? Telepathy starts to become something that you can do naturally when DNA is activated, but it's not in and of itself the only thing. You still have to decalcify the third eye, because this is the brain matter that's receiving and sending brain information, brain to brain. So I don't know, if you're eating McDonald's, it doesn't matter. You have to stop eating McDonald's. That's just an example. I'm not saying you are. I'm just using that as an example. If you're drinking artificial sweeteners, you know, using those artificial sweeteners and that fake sugar, that's going to shut that down. If you're eating GMOs, it's going to shut it down. So please understand, telepathy, it's not, when somebody thinks that, there's usually a take a pill program operating, which the belief system, like, let me just take a pill and everything should be just snack food, all good, all better. No, it's not a take a pill telepathy. So you have to decalcify that. And you also have to learn how to easily and effortlessly access the theta brainwave. Easily, because telepathy doesn't happen from a beta brainwave. Third dimensional paradigm, beta brainwave. That's the brainwave people are operating from. And then they go to sleep, they get delta. In fifth dimensional paradigm, we still have beta, we still have delta, but now we also have theta and gamma. And alpha is a 4D brainwave, fourth, when we're traveling through fourth dimension, and we don't stop using it. We just use it at our will when we want. But telepathy is a theta brainwave, and you definitely have to be able to access that for telepathy. And then you have to learn how to use it. I mean, you do have to start practicing, right? So you can get the activations for it, but you still, it's like you have to work with that. That's a practice. It's not just, so we would call that more of a template in a sense, because I'm hearing it's not just a template, it's more than that too. But I hope that makes sense, right? So, but you will naturally be able to do more of that as you do these things, plus activate the DNA, because as we said, the first 3 strands, you know, by the time you have 5 strands, you're living in 5D. And understand, the other strands, like 6th strand is a 6th dimension. You're accessing 6th dimension. The more of that, the more of the 6th dimensional reality you can access. You get to 7th dimension, you've got a full 7th strand. You get to 8th dimension, you've got a full 8th strand. The dimensions are correlating to the strands of DNA. The more codes of that strand you have activated, the more you're correlating, and you have ability to access these other dimensions. Okay, hope that makes sense. Yes, drinking a lot of water really matters, really makes a difference. What about meat alternatives, Carl's Jr., Burger King, etc.? I don't trust those companies. They're government-run, subsidized food systems. So all of those fast food companies, the person was asking on the chat, what about the meat alternatives of other fast food those fast food companies? They're doing that so they can survive, but they're still putting genetically modified food in there, and they're still putting, I don't know what they're putting. Do they tell you the ingredients? I don't go to those stores, so I don't know. But I think they also all have nanotechnology, because the reason those companies were set up were government subsidized food to feed the masses. And in the conspiracy circles, it's known that those food sources are used to shut people down, dumb people down, and stupefy them. And they've done very well. I mean, just most of the people who go in those stores are primarily not 5D people. You won't see green juicer. I mean, I'm a green juicer. I'm never in those stores. I'm grateful for them on the roadsides if I'm traveling and I need a bathroom. But other than that, I wouldn't buy anything in those stores. So I don't think most people do who are in 5D. We migrate out of wanting that kind of food. So I just ask, I mean, I'm hearing that that's accurate, that they still have genetically modified foods in them and nanotechnology. So use your discernment. You can muscle test. Most of the stuff I get when I know it's something like that, like I want to do a whole video on Arcturian command because I really want to address that, which I can't go into it today. We don't have time, but I muscle test when I get stuff that's really out there. Like even some of the stuff I said about the sexual misery programs, I muscle test that to make sure I'm right. And I'm a pretty good muscle tester. And then I triple test it if I'm not sure with dowsing. But I know my psychic abilities are really outstanding. So when I get told something by my higher realms, I typically don't even really need to muscle test it. Okay, protection for the 5G grids. I said that. I would get the shungite, Shungite. You put that on every piece of technology and fill your house with crystals. Look, I'm just going to show you since we have this kind of fun game. Look at here. Can you see this? I don't know if you can see. These are all my crystals just in one spot. I don't know if you can see that. Did you guys see that? I have crystals all over my house, but I'm a crystalholic and I lead crystal circles to Arkansas and we get tons of them. And I have certain crystals that I know different crystals do different things. Can you see this one? Yeah, you can, right? Different crystals do different things. Also, these are great to have in your house. If you know these things, right? These are technology. They clean the air. Some sea salt, right? Himalayan salt. Okay. Yeah, you need natural stuff in the house. And then there's certain rituals and practices you can do. But if we're going to do activations, we do not have time for that now. So, okay, I hope that, guys, I'm going to put it on all, do some activations, yeah? We're at 5:30. So a good half an hour. I need to get myself some water. I can't walk away from my, are we good with that? Yeah? You guys still hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. All right, let me just grab my water bottle. Hold on one second. Okay, so we're going to do activations. Now, we'll do a half an hour meditation. We'll get as much in as we can. Usually, I don't see any requests, right? Usually what happens is the divine source. Prepare any, but I will always be told what ones I'm going to do before I do them. In this case, I didn't get any because I thought I'd get the group, based on what the group involvement was. So
Wendy requested the pineal gland decalcification activation.
we can do that. Understand that's not really a DNA.
Hey there, Lori. I'm not sure what's
in and of
happening
itself
on your end. On my end, your video is
Bad?
freezing up a little bit.
Oh.
Can everybody tell me if you guys were also having frozen, like if you missed anything? Maybe just put it in the chat and Lori can repeat the last sentence or two if needed. Thank you.
All right. Well, how is it now? Is it better now that I'm sitting?
It's going.
Isn't it better, you guys?
I can hear you now. It's just maybe it froze up a couple times. So you guys, if it does freeze again, just let her know if you miss any sentences. Okay, just put it in the chat and Belinda will let her know.
I'm looking at myself over there, but the camera's over there. It's just because my regular computer I'm not using today.
Okay,
the camera on my regular computer got kind of screwed up.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, but there we go. So,
okay.
All right, so, all right, I'm going to say a prayer, and that's how we start. And so you definitely want to drink a lot of water for these, right? before or after. You know that deal. The water flows the energy. So I'm going to say a prayer. And while I'm saying the prayer, your job, whoever you are, wherever you are, is just really get yourself comfortable and start taking long, slow, deep, relaxing breaths. And these breaths you want to be taking, you let your eyes close and you start connecting with the breath as a frequency, a vibration. And of course, the vibration you want to be breathing in is love and peace, right? Those are your stable 5D frequencies. And so you just are connecting energetically with intention that you're breathing in love and peace into your body. And as you breathe, and your eyes are feeling it, it's coming through the nose to the center of the brain. Now that's where your pineal pituitary glands sit sort of to the back of the brain, kind of at the base of the neck. So you feel that breath of love go straight back to the brain, the center of the brain. You yourself, just through that breath, some of your pineal, the love starts to decalcify it, that you breathe it in right there with your intention. Feel it, sense it, see it, imagine it. There's no way to do this wrong. You're God in a body, reawakening your dormant knowing. So breathe it in with intention. Feel it with your mind. Feel it in the back of the brain. And then now it starts to go down naturally into the throat. Now this is your next chakra center here, right? Feel it fill up the chakra center. Energy there, breath of peace. Just feel it. Then you pull it down. And you exhale naturally when you feel right, your own comfortable pace. But now it's going to go into the heart center. And you let the whole heart center fill up and expand. You feel the breath. You feel your breath of love and peace filling up the chest, the rib cage, the middle of the upper back, the middle of the back, all the lungs. And this time now, also when you breathe for the lungs of the earth too. Breathe through all of Mother Earth, the lungs of the earth, like the rainforest getting their breath, right? The breath of air. And then travel it down now into the belly is your next belly center. We want to put you in right breathing center space for these activations. So the belly center is your next chakra center. All the organs in that area expand the breath of love in, through, and around all the organs. The middle of the back, belly center, and the sides, and even the bones in that area, right? And then you breathe, you exhale when you're ready, and then you breathe again and travels through all the energy centers and goes into the reproductive center now and expand all around you in every direction, your breath of love. So what you're doing is, as you're breathing up in the nose, down all the major energy centers, expanding all around, filling all your energy up with love and peace. That is the new frequency your body needs to hold. And then, of course, it goes into the buttocks. Same thing, that whole area of the body. You want to feel it. Your buttocks expand with breath of love and peace. Feel your buttocks on the chair, your renal gland, all that whole area there. And then as it expands, and whenever you're ready, you take another breath. You exhale as it's comfortable, take another breath, and then you drop down. So the breath of love now drops down from the buttocks through the floor beneath you, and you just drop it down, deep down as it can, like you're just dropping down your love into the earth. Now this time, you want to connect with the crystalline grid. There's no way to do this wrong. There's a crystal grid network in the earth, and the crystals have activations for us. And this is no way to do this wrong. You just see, sense, feel, and imagine connecting with the 5D grid of the crystalline grid. You're connecting in through love and peace, because that's the language of 5D. That's the frequency of 5D. And when you're ready, you just call up that energy. Breathe it up now. Reverse direction. And it comes up into the buttocks area, the crystalline grid. Now imagine this time, I will say the prayer, but I'm walking you through the breath first. Imagine this time that a crystal grid, crystal has come up, and the energy of the crystalline grid is now in your buttocks area, right? Not like it's coming up in a perverse way, but just a healthy way. Crystalline energy. The crystalline energy is Christ consciousness. Breathe it up through the buttocks area. There's no way to do this wrong now. Expand out. Love, peace, crystalline consciousness all around you. You're building your container. Every direction around you from the buttocks center. That's the base chakra, right? And now breathe up again into the reproductive center. Crystalline consciousness. Crystalline energy in the reproductive, every direction around you. Expand. No way to do it wrong. Building your container. This is how you build your field of love, and you build the 5D grid around you. Now rise it up. Another deep, long breath into the belly. Feel it. You guys know you've done this kind of before. So the belly center, beautiful crystalline grid in you, crystalline consciousness awakening in you, the belly center. Ripple it out like a big ripple effect in every direction around your belly center, expanding love and peace all around you, building your core foundations is the core chakra center, energy center. And now right into the heart. Feel, sense, see. Now you're still breathing in, so it's coming down as well, love and peace, and you're meeting in your own center. Beautiful love expanding all around you, crystalline consciousness expanding all around you, peace through the whole heart center, expanding the heart center in every direction around you, all around, back, front, center, like a big circle, ripple effect. Another deep, long, slow breath. Rise it up into it's coming into the throat, meeting you from above and below in the throat center, expanding all around the throat center. Nice. This is all softening for everybody now. And now another long, slow, deep, comfortable breath. And now you feel the crystalline energy is rising up into your own brain, and the breath that you're breathing in, meeting in the third eye pineal area. Now there could be a crystal. See, sense, feel, and imagine a beautiful, perfect crystal, crystalline energy, and the breath of love and peace meeting in the center of your brain. As you do, it's naturally decalcifying your own energy and expand it out in every direction. You're opening your psychic center, opening is, and the frequency is love and peace. Love and peace is always the highest, clearest, purest energies there are, other than joy, love and peace. These are good to harmonize with, right? We're harmonizing with love and peace. Now, rise up to the top of the brain. So I need to feel for the very top of the brain, remembering there's no way to do it wrong. That's already being shifted out. That's good. The brain, feel the top of the brain underneath the scalp. Oh no, when you're all there. You're almost all there. Good. Now, just notice as you continue to breathe in a comfortable and relaxing way, you feel for the top of the brain, and all of a sudden you realize you're in an altered state. Can you feel? Can you sense? You don't have to answer, just feel for the top of the brain. Now you're in a theta brainwave. You're already feeling it, sensing it. And now this time I want you to reach with the next breath beyond the brain to the sun. Now there's no way to actually reach the sun. You just breathe upwards towards the sun as far as you possibly can, the Son of God. And your energy of love and peace and crystalline Christ consciousness will reach the Son of God. And that Son of God is going to connect with you now with its consciousness, and you're going to pull it down. Just through your breath, remembering there's no way to do it wrong. But the light of the Son of God, you can see, sense, feel, or imagine, however it is, back to the top of your brain now. And now another deep, long, comfortable breath, and bring it down to the center of the brain. The light of the Son of God, see, sense, feel, and imagine all of the Son of God, the light of the sun coming into your brain, opening and expanding the pineal gland and pituitary gland in the back of the brain. Decalcifying, lighting up your third eye. And now breathe down that light of the Son of God with the breath of love and peace into the throat. Feel it expand in every direction. And now this is the last big one. Just drop down now into the heart. Now I'm going to say the prayer while you're dropping into the heart. You keep breathing comfortably and relaxing as it feels comfortable for you, light of Son of God, crystalline energy, peace and love. And everything I say and feel, you just drop down as deep as you can into your own heart, the core of your heart. This is where your consciousness resides, and this is where you are. Just keep dropping into your heart. I'm going to say the divine source, clearest, purest, original source of consciousness, divine, calling you forward here and now, to be with us here and now. Serve, support, and assist us. Embody each and every one of us in the highest and best and most benevolent ways possible, calling you forward in full and complete consciousness in, through, and around us, here and now, present with us. Calling forth also each and every one of our high self, original source selves, individualized beings of ourself, coming forward to be present with us here and now, serving, supporting, and assisting us during these activations and awakenings, and also calling forward our star family races, only those who absolutely, positively love and accept us, unconditionally love and accept us, and are ready, willing, and able now, right here and now, to support and assist us only in the highest and best and most benevolent ways possible. We call you forward here and now to assist and serve and sacred union and reconnect our divinity, the divine source, creator, God of all that is, and with one another. And as we activate and awaken our dormant potential, and also simultaneously clear and resolve the dormant self and the fragmented ourselves and disrupted aspects of our unconscious, for that which serves, supports, and assists us highest and most benevolent ways, for the highest and with harm to none. We will also call forward right here and right benevolent beings, not only from our family races, but also whose only desire is to assist and serve the highest, best, and most benevolent ways. The divine gods in those realms with ascended masters, as angels, angel gods, and benevolent beings, once again, whose only desire during this time is to serve in the highest and best, most benevolent ways, and greatest of all beings concerned and with harm to them. Thanks now for your presence, as we are aware. We are so aware you are here with us. We are grateful for all we are about to receive. And we give thanks now, we let it be. And so it is. Good. So another long sleep, slow, deep breath, and drop even more fully, wholly, and completely into your heart center. Kadosh, Kadosh, Adonai, Sabaoth, Adonai, Sabaoth, Kadosh, 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 Adonai, Sabaoth. Give thanks now. Okay, so I'm going to listen. Yes, we'll do a little more of the third eye area. Since for the start, you just keep breathing. This time, come slightly out of the heart center and a little more into the third eye area again, which we know, once again, that's your chakra center in the center of the brain, right? Just breathing in that area, and I'll do this activation for you. So just stay with me here. And you're just breathing into that area. And you might want to see, sense, or feel as you breathe into that area a flower of life, if you know what that looks like. If not, breathe in circles that are semi-intercircle, like Pisces. Looks like kind of like this. If you're not sure, if you want to open your eye briefly, 2 circles interlocking. Or you can just breathe beautiful violet light in the center of your brain. There's no way to do it wrong. Just receiving is to receive right now, right? If you don't want to do that, that's okay. Just receive. But you do have to consciously be willing. Let me get out of the way here while I do this. Osho, Osho, Osho. Shokure, Shokure, Shokure. Okay, so for all of you saying yes now, this is the time. Just breathe into that third eye area.
As you breathe, just notice whatever you notice. You may think you notice nothing, and that's okay too. It's not a pill, it's an activation, and that's very different, which means you might notice nothing in the moment. There it is, good. And for some of you may notice a lot. You may feel a pressure in the brain area, or you may feel a great expansion in the brain area. Either way, it's fine. Whatever you notice, even if you just notice actively engaged in receiving a pineal pituitary activation, that's fine too. You may feel your eyes flutter a little. That's good. That's fine. And if you don't, that's okay too. Yeah, good. This is done for now. Remember, with a third eye activation, it's one of those things you can do as often as you want, whenever you want, as long as you feel a good yes for it. You want, to feel like you want it. You're ready for it. And you can do it again. The more you do it, the better it gets. So it's one of those things you can do as often as you want. You don't have to, it doesn't typically happen only once. It's like a shower. You do it multiple times every time you need it. Good. Okay, we're going to do some DNA stuff here now. So let me just listen at what source would like to give for this particular group. And there will be a channel coming too. Good. Syrian activation first. Syrian fam alive and well, hanging with us here now. Members recognizing, actively participating in the humanity, engaged. We do have some great hybrids here, interestingly. They are of a benevolent caliber as well. And they are here, yes, gratefully receiving compassion and sharing compassion, for they would not have continued to exist without the compassion that they've brought forward, which they have been able to receive from. So they have something to offer as well. We're playing with the Syrians for now. So they would like to provide more codes and patterns of sacred geometrical patterning within the DNA. And this includes the diamond helix, the diamond activation, diamond codes. Diamond codes are for further supporting the double helix strand of the additional 10 strands and beyond. These diamond codes are basic codes required for all of humanity as you up-level and awaken into the fifth dimensional reality. And as you activate and awaken more of your DNA, these diamond codes will continue to, much like a domino effect, activate and further activate additional codes in the DNA, and preparing for the double helix, double DNA strand activations, which are yet to come for humanity. This is ready to be activated now for all those in agreement to give the consent. Please understand that with this activation, more of your knowings will come into alignment of your conscience in a divine way, and only in ways which are in service to your highest and most benevolent best, never harm to you or anyone else. Now is the time by taking a long and slow deep breath right into the heart. Yes, thank you with your mind. Okay, I got to get out of the way. I was out of the way, really. That was channeled, right? Not me speaking. Here it comes. Nice. It's like layers. It's like a stack of diamond codes coming in and simultaneously awakening from within you and every cell of your body and being. Divine source, creator, God of all that is, of course, doing the overall work for all beings.
So activating within you and being instilled within you in every cell of your body and being with your consent. Breathe, receive, notice whatever you notice. Nice. Okay, good. This one's done. So I get the joy tap. Sometimes you make a little laugh. It's like I get a tap of joy. It comes out my mouth and I laugh. And it's like source saying, yeah, Lori, you're still in an altered state, but I'm done. You can move on. It's a little wake up for me. Good. Next codes we're going to get are from the crystalline kingdom. And these are codes. And these are Christ codes. And what they're saying, of course, is we're your crystalline family of light. We are from future time and space, and at the same time from your current here now. For we are here now with you in the here now moment. We are your crystalline family. Ask for sure. You of us as well. We are within you and within us. For it is true, we are one. So while there are degrees of separation and we are crystalline beings and you are humans, we are at once one in these higher. And therefore, as we come into our oneness, allow us with your consent to awaken the crystalline codes which are within us and which are dormant within you. And as we awaken these crystalline codes, you will come to know yourself as one with us. You will also find, as many of you have discussed earlier on this call, and this conversation, this dialogue, that concern about IG grid, there was conversation about how to protect yourself. You will find that as you these crystalline more and more activated within you, this is a natural innate data detection, so to speak. While it is not current desire to use the word protection, it is a word you can all understand. And their crystalline codes will indeed protect you from harmful and also toxic occurrence associated with technological interference, which may not be beneficial necessarily for the human body. The crystalline codes that protect you and elevate you to a 5D reality where the technological interference will no longer be detrimental or harmful to you. Along with these crystalline codes, which we're about to give consent to, also will provide a degree of immunity and imperviousness, for the crystalline codes carry immunity and imperviousness. It has been said through the channel before, and it is now known, that the crystalline frequency is on planet Earth. Indeed. Therefore, now that these have been clearly explained, with your consent, this would be the time to receive these crystalline codes. And once again, as you know, they will provide a great degree of immunity and imperviousness for you, and also further elevate you to Christ consciousness, crystalline consciousness. Let the child remove herself from the dialogue that it. So now is the time to give your consent. Long, deep, comfortable. Please, yes, thank you. Allows the codes to be activated within you, awakened within you, within every cell of your body, and being simultaneously instilled within you. Even if you have received these before, there are more, they are enhanced, they are greater, and they go deeper. Allow yourself, if you so choose. Yeah. Now's the time. Yes, yes, yes. I received them too. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Here we go. Your eyes fluttering a little bit, or you may just notice mine. Feels really good, you guys. Feels nice and smooth. It should feel good to you. Peaceful, benevolent. Everything very smooth here. That's nice. No resistance. That means no one's resisting. Full integration. Thank you. Thank you. I have the 3 M's here. Common occurrences: Melchizedek, Metatron, and Michael, Archangel. And They all embody, they are all of one, individualized. Asking if they would come through direct. For we are the Lords of the M. We lovingly refer to ourselves as Lords of the M, for we have embodied all three as individual. And on this frequency, we are one. Lord Melchizedek, Lord Michael, and Lord Metatron. Each embodiment is a different frequency and a different individualized being, but nonetheless the same stream. And therefore, we show up to this particular channel, all three together. And that which we'd like to provide to you today and share with you today are codes of honoring from the Melchizedek lineage. These codes from the Melchizedek lineage are simply codes to further assist you in remembering who you truly are and realigning more fully, wholly, and fully with your new paradigm of existence and becoming more of the true masters you are to be. Come to know yourselves as angels in body, for indeed, Archangel Michael is an angel. You are angels' bodies. You will come to know yourself as an ascended master, for indeed you are. Lord Melchizedek is an ascended master, and Metatron, he himself is both an archangel and an ascended master, for he is the version of Michael who ascended to ascended master being and ultimately became part of the Melchizedek order and is and always has been part of the Melchizedek order. So therefore, you too are, in a sense, being initiated in a new way, as you always have been and were in a future. You were in a linear time, are in a future time zone, already part of this lineage of the Melchizedek order. So these activations will allow more of this knowing within you to be awakened. And of course, the leveling up into 5D, the new paradigm, as you so call it, as you so know it and name it, shall be more fully awakened within you and more effortless for you to navigate. This would be the time now to give your consent if you so choose. Long, slow, deep, comfortable breath. Oh, thank you. Good. So this is where I step back into the facilitator role. They do the activation. There's not a direct channel so much. They're doing the work. I'm facilitating. You're receiving. I'm receiving too. I receive this as well. Breathe. Receive. Once again, notice. These gray hybrids, there are aspects of us as well. They're stepping forward. I'm sorry, because that activation was complete. And they just sort of push their way through again. It does seem they maybe don't have the same kinds of polite. I've never interacted with these beings. They are connected to the group we are working with. I have never interacted with them myself before. They are a little bit pushy and they want their attention. And so because they're not part of my regular team, I've been kind of putting them and I'm giving them permission to direct channel because I don't know them, but they do have this to offer. It's like what they said earlier. They are both receiving in this group and wanting us to know that they are of a benevolent nature and that they have only benevolent intentions and that they also wish to unify with us in a way that is most benevolent and with harm to none. And they are, of course, of that caliber. And that they would like us to know that not all grays are bad or evil. And in fact, that it is true indeed that in the fifth dimensional reality, there are grays. This is a slight channel. It's a relay, what I call a relay. So they would like to make their way in and I keep giving them I'm sorry, I don't know you, so you don't get to channel right through me. But nonetheless, I'm translating as best as I can. And so that they are benevolent. And they want us to know that many of the star family races who have been previously interpreted as malevolent have also up-leveled into 5D, and that they're not malevolent at all. And that while they may not know all of our human customs, and they may not always be as polite as these other ascended masters and other beings who have come forward have been, and they sincerely apologize in their way for that. They just want to know, us to know that we shall have no fear, for they are here in love as well. They have gratefully received our compassion, and it is true, earlier versions of them may have done less benevolent interactions with humans, and that was simply because they knew they needed this compassion, and now they would like to share more of it with us. Greater compassion for us and for one another. And what their translation is that this will help us to handle our triggers. That's interesting. So interact with other humans, and a human perhaps pushes our buttons or triggers us. What they're offering will help us to become a little more neutral, because they have great neutrality, is what they're saying. Great neutrality. And so we won't be as emotionally upset by humans who potentially, sorry, slightly lost that, who potentially trigger us or upset us or hurt us. So they say this is assured. I'm going back to my laws here just to make sure. Yes, thank you. So love, intent, consent, and authority stepping forward, that it is demanded only as is for the highest and greatest of all beings concerned, and with harm to none. And only as is uniquely appropriate for each individual body, being, life, and living, with harm to none. So this is agreed and consented. And the only reason I'm putting that off is because they look like grays, but they are of a benevolent nature. So therefore, now with your consent, if you being provided, and they're asking us if we would like to receive these gifts. And they're saying this will sort of stabilize more of our emotional body too, to help us be more balanced in our emotional body, and to help us, not be as triggered or activated in harmful ways if somebody upsets us, that we'll be able to be more neutral. So if you'd like this, and once again, in law, intent, consent, authority here, and all the laws are in agreement, only as is for the highest and best, with harm to none. If you'd like this, please give your consent, because we humans have a little more hesitancy when we're dealing with like a gray, right? But it's okay, right? It's not my team. I never pre-evaluated them, but it is very beautiful. Can feel the energy already. It does feel different to me personally, a little bit of a different frequency, but if you're willing, this is the time to say yes. They wouldn't be allowed in this circle. Yeah, it's a very nice energy. It's coming through for those of us who say yes to receiving. It's quite peaceful, quite benevolent. You just notice what you notice. If you're saying yes, it's been translated. I'm saying yes. It feels good and right. Good. Thank you. Good. And this is done. Thank you. Okay, we have something coming in from Source, and we did have some Animal Kingdom coming forward, and I want to ask which one first, and then we'll start to wrap up, because I mean, I can go on with these kinds of things forever, but I know the animals first. The Animal Kingdom was upon, and it's a collective of multiple animal species. So we have a great collective here, and there are. I'm asking, how do you want me to identify? Because there's many different species in this sub-collective of animals in the Animal Kingdom. We have wild animals who are called in. I think these are called in by Susie, by one of the participants. And we have some farm animals who were called in through our collective consciousness. And then we do have some dolphin consciousness here. So there's a collective. And I'm just asking, what would you like to share? Okay, good. Thank you. So here's what I'm going to be, either a relay or a direct channel. Let me just ask. So what we'd like to share with you today here is more awareness of what the Animal Kingdom is asking and offering for humans. And this is coming through a sub-collective of the Animal Kingdom, but nonetheless, it is a collective agreement by animals at large. And this is for humanity to understand the consciousness and the sentience of all animals. In part, it is a request for animals to be removed of cages, entrapment, to provide more freedom with what we are today, ask for freedom and liberation and sovereignty, consciousness, and also to provide awareness, greater awareness to the human collective, regarding the sentience of animals, since your group in particular is quite open to this awareness. They're aware that as we provide consciousness and awaken that consciousness within all of you here now, this will also continue to further ripple out into the collective, that more of humanity will awaken to the sentience of animals. It is our desire for all animals, non-human, to be treated beings. And while partnerships between animals and humans will continue in the future, including choices to engage in death and dying process, will become less and less as it continues. Certainly, experiences where animals are being treated with torture, indignity, dishonor, that will become less and less in the future, not too far away. More humans become aware. This is why today, in this way, for while we're not giving direct DNA activations, we are providing consciousness through your own DNA with your agreement of the consciousness of animals in the animal kingdom, of the choices of animals and the animals on earth, and especially regarding the sentience of animals. For what we are sharing here is the desire for animals to be treated as sentient beings and partners with humans on earth. As you partner more fully and wholly with us, we also enjoy our experience with you more wholly and fully, and all beings will live in greater harmony. This is what we wish for the human species and for all living beings on earth. And at this time, we are deeply grateful for you who have invited us into your circle and who have given consent to hear this request and to acknowledge it as real, coming from the consciousness of this sub-collective of animals. And therefore, now would be the time to give consent to receive more of this consciousness into you, to become more aligned with who you truly are, and that as you embody it from consciousness that we've shared so far, that as you embody it, others will receive it in greater and greater proportion on earth as well. And in this way, you greatly serve the animal kingdom. Now will be the time to agree. Once again, laws of the universe coming forward. Intent, consent, and authority, ensuring it is only as is for the highest and best of all beings concerned and with harm to none. And if that is the agreement here now, it is so. Yes, it is. And so it is. So everyone in agreement. Only as is for the highest and best of all concerned with harm to none, and only as is uniquely appropriate for each individual body and being. If you agree now, would be allow the animals to give their expression today. Right here. Good, big shift happening already. Long, slow, deep breath. The way they're defining this is these are more like templates of awareness, not quite codes, but here it is. It's nice, very sweet. So you may just notice yourself feeling very light and expansive right now. There it is. Nice. This is done and complete. We have one last. This is coming straight from Source, Creator, God of all that is. Nope, I'm sorry. No to you. No. I have someone else to come in that I've never worked with directly, and I would be happy to work with them, but not now. Sorry. So we have a big group, right? Whenever there's a big group of beings gathered like this and we're connecting in our heart, many beings come, and I'm thrilled to meet these beings, but I've never worked with them before, and they'll have to come back another time. I'm sorry. I'll tell you about it afterwards. Let's go straight to source, has something for us. And this is a very common one, but since some of you are new, you likely have never received this from me before. So we're going to give you straight from source your Adam Cat body activate and your original divine blueprint activation. Original divine blueprint is the initial code blueprint for your body and being, which does not include death or dying or disease, not as you've known in the third paradigm. Activated in you, your body will start to prepare more wholly, fully, and completely for the ascending body it's meant to become. Right? It's a code you need to evolve. So that's the original divine blueprint. And the same is true in a sense for the Adam Cadman body, which does hold codes of original divine blueprint for humanity, which again does not include death, disease, dying, or sickness. Doesn't mean you won't necessarily have some things. It just means you've got the codes that prepare you for the ascending body. You have to have these codes. They were basically activated in you. Now, if you're willing, these are coming straight from source, creator God of all that is. If you're willing, receive them now. Let me get out of the way. Long, slow, deep breath. Please, yes, thank you is all you need to receive. There it comes. Nice. This is easy. Good. Yes. There it is. Nice. Right. Beautiful. Nice. Going right into your power center, which means really it's going to give you more personal power too. Good. All right. I think we can do maybe one or two more. We're 2.5 long time, so let me just ask if we can do one or two more. I'll be done. I'm asking source. I have something coming in from the laws. Law of intent, consent, and authority. It's the first law. It's often known as the law. It's not the law, but it's one of the first laws we work with when we become conscious of the laws. The laws exist on a signal frequency. And this law would like to provide you greater awareness of how to conscious consent and free will. And source, the second one we'll do. Sorry, thank you. It just would like to give you more of the codes of freedom, sovereignty, and liberation. Thank you. That's what we'll do, and then we'll complete. So coming back to consent and authority. Intent, consent, and authority would like to provide you greater consciousness from this about how to consciously use your free will, your intention, your divine intention, your consent, and your authority. That you will learn and receive greater understanding about how to use and apply your divine power, which is your free will, as a God sovereign being, to intend into the universe that which you desire. Remembering that the only true rule in the high planes is that must serve the greater good of all with harm to none, as you follow that rule. So it cannot be ego-based in the new reality. That will, if it is ego-based, that will act as a deterrent, so to speak, because obviously, with clarity, it must serve the greater good with harm to none in order for it to be part of the 5D. So remembering that, you have great power now to use your intention. I intend that the waters are healed, whole and clear and beautiful and pure. I intend that the rainforest is fresh and clear and healthy and strong. I intend for the rain of Mother Earth to rain upon the wildfires that are seemingly out of control in the rainforest or in Siberia. For example, when you use an intention like that, you have great power to heal the planet and to use your consciousness to serve the greater good. You have up until now been unaware of this power, this gift. Therefore, this is the offering I offer you today as the law of intent, consent, and authority. With this activation, you will come to know more and more of your power
to use the law of intent authority and to use your divine intention to serve the good of humanity. Remembering always, it must serve the highest and best. It must serve the greater good with harm to none. Cleaning up the waters always serves the greater good with harm to none. Allowing rain to rain in a rainforest will absolutely serve the greater good with harm to none. So you see, these are examples. But with this activation, you will become more and more wholly, fully, and completely conscious over time of how to use this law in service to the greater good. If you are willing, now would be the time to give your consent and say yes. For of course, I abide by the law too, which requires you, it's a little funny, to say yes. Okay, I stepped out of the way now. It's me laughing at what's come through. So if you're willing, that I'm out. Let the law do its work. Say yes. Long, slow, full breath. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love the laws. I love the laws so much because they interact with us now, whereas in 3D they never did, not in a conscious way. There we go. That's nice. Notice what you notice. Feel what you feel. Your yes is what allows it, right? And the rest, you just trust that that's what's being done because we've already set the stage for it. We set the ground rules. We've played it as best as we can. Yes, there we go. Full integration. There we go. There, nice. Good, done. Final action for today, and then we'll come out of this meditation. And that is the codes of freedom, the codes of sovereignty, and the codes of liberation. These are so important at this time on the planet. I have done these myself before in Source. We did do these at the portal. You want them, and they really do help humanity as we take them on too. So these are really just about claiming our freedom, our sovereignty, and our liberation from the third dimensional paradigm, and to live the life that is our birthright, that we're meant to live. So if you're wanting these codes activated, these are in the DNA, and this is straight from Divine Source, Creator God of all that is, reawakening and activating them, within us, within every cell of our bodies and beings. With your consent now, breathe, receive, consent, and allow Divine Source, Creator God, to activate the codes of freedom, the codes of sovereignty, and the codes of liberation within you. Yes. These are nice. They feel really good. It goes really fast when it's Source. I already got the joy tap, but I feel like I need to sit here for another minute. So not a minute, second. You know, because I'm receiving too. Okay, that's the joy tap. It's fun. Good. Makes me so happy. So we're going to come out of this meditation. But while we're starting to come out, I'll lead you out. I feel very happy because it's a lot of joy. And I think you feel quite happy tonight too. You may wake up tomorrow feeling very happy. Even if it's not happy, you might feel peaceful. Or just, you'll find most likely that you feel really good. Some range of goodness, whatever that is for you. You may also find that you have a lot of energy tonight. Or you may find that you just want to go to sleep too, because a lot of times that happens integrated. Remember to drink lots of water. Always good to eat nuts and seeds and berries after activations and green juices, right? All right, so as we're coming out of this meditation, take a long, slow, deep breath and just start to begin to remember that you've been in your body all along. You haven't gone anywhere. You just got expansive. And so just start to stretch, like whatever feels good, stretch gently and slowly. Toes, legs, calves, and thighs. And start to stretch the buttocks area.
You never left your body. You didn't merge with one else. You just expand your own field and let more of what's in the field be awakened and activated in you that you decided to say yes to. So you're only in your own container. You didn't take on anyone else's stuff. And anyway, we've all been just in the energies of love and peace anyway. So just stretching whatever you need to stretch, arms and hands and fingers, shoulders, chest, neck, and face and forehead. And just before you're really ready to open your eyes, even if you have already, that's okay. I really like to wrap arms around myself, arms around, no one else can hear you right now anyway, and just tell yourself whatever it is you need to do today. Like, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. I value you. I appreciate you. I honor you. I respect you. I thank you. I thank you for showing up in your heart. Just take all that in, because you're the one doing this for you. You showed up. You participated. You said yes. You're the one waking you up. I'm just the facilitator, the translator. So, not to minimize my role, because I showed up too. Now, when you're ready, open your eyes, come back in. Good. So, right. So, I know we're probably a little woozy. I don't mind taking a few final questions or comments. I mean, we're at basically 2.5 hours. So that really is pretty much the end. But if anyone wants to share anything, ask anything. Okay. I don't know. I'm going to leave that up to, I can go over
There
the Q&A.
are a couple questions in the Q&A.
Okay. So is healer, and I'm wondering if it's better to open to new forms of advanced healing, star families maybe, or try to tune into former healing abilities of past lives. For example, if I was a healer or a high priestess in the past life of Egypt or Greece, is it more impactful to access or use that info or healing, or to learn new ways of healing? This is from Lisa. Well, so what I would say about that is, first, since I don't know you, Lisa, and I don't know your journey, and we're really and so it's not like a setting for you. What I would say is the most important thing for you is to follow whatever excites you the most and lights you up the most and feels most inspiring to you. That is always your best navigation. And I know that's a answer, but as you do that, also be tuning into your own higher guidance and asking if this is a right step, next step for me, or a right next path for me. Open and let it be effortless. Show me that it's all yes. And this is where I'm going to go, because that's where I feel most excited. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to learn about. This is what I'm going to expand, because that feels most exciting and enjoyable. And if it's right, and show me the yes by letting it be so, by opening the door, by making it possible, by revealing to me more that there is there. And that's going to be my yes. And if it's a no, well, but I can tell you, Lisa, that if it's exciting to you, it'll be a yes, most likely. Okay, I hope that helps, Lisa. And then if you didn't hear stuff saying, I hope that you could hear, but I'm sure it will be enhanced. I know that Neil is really good. He's really good with technology. So he will very likely enhance the sound if there was any of that. So in replay, I know you guys will get the replay, right? I'm pretty sure. So that should work fine. I hope that's right that you get the replay. I'm pretty sure it is.
The replay
Yes,
in
yes.
48 hours.
Okay, good. Yeah, so you probably enhance the sound, right? And I mean, a lot of times that happens, stuff that maybe if your computer cut out for a second, the technology that's recording it, which is done cloud through the internet, still works, right?
Yeah, Neil,
That's usually the
doing
case.
a full edit. I'll be putting up a basic with while he's away. And then if he wants to do any major editing, he can do that when he gets back. So I'll just be sure to
Okay.
inform. I'll probably call Sol and just tell her, since I don't think she's in Vipassana, so I will have a chat with her and ask her.
Okay.
If it seems like the right plan.
Okay. Yeah, I think that should be not an issue, but the activations still work. I mean, because it's source doing, it's source and these higher beings, right? So as long as you're getting, you want a yes and you want it, they're knowing that. I mean, I'm a translator and I'm doing certain things. I'm definitely playing a role in it, but your role is to be saying yes and receiving it. And if you're doing that, you're good. Okay. Then I got this question. What is the fine line between being aware and not plugging into the past 3D? You know, you're gonna be there. Plugging in is you're engaged in it. You know, like to me, plugging in is like a perfect example of plugging in is like, I'm going to turn on the news and watch it. I don't watch the news. I don't even turn it on. I don't even have regular TV really. I have it in one room, which it came with the house that I have actually already wired. And I almost never use it. Almost never. All my viewing is like, you know, streamlined through either Netflix or one of those kinds of channels, and I don't have any commercials. So I mean, if I'm meant to find out about something, I found out about the rainforest, for example, through Facebook. So that's an example of not plugging in. Not plugging in is not getting emotionally entangled in it, but still really caring and showing this, where we and activate this in us. We're holding it in our bodies, we're elevating our face. So we're being 5D in the physical world. But we don't sit there and like somebody says something mean, or you're driving, not plugging in is you're driving down the freeway and someone's having a road rage attack and you're like, okay, I'm not gonna, I'll just step on the brake a little bit, let that, you know, that's not plugging in. Not plugging in is not getting entangled in it to the best of your ability. And just, yeah, that's going on. Some love, loving kindness, peace, hope for the best. Not going to go there. Just not getting involved in it. That's not, you know, it's part of navigating your way. So, you know, I hope that's helpful. It is definitely an ongoing thing to not in, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. I hope that helps. Okay. How do I find my timeline? Mary's asking. It looks like Belinda, do you want to get live? But this is why I say I don't really know how to use the dashboard, but let me just address Belinda, did you want to go live? Okay. Can we make Belinda live, or am I the
Yeah, I'm
person?
here. I'm here.
Oh, okay. Did you want to say something?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay. All right, good. All right, I'm not, but I mean, okay, now I addressed that.
Thank you.
For some
No.
reason it said something weird on my screen. Okay, good. So, and then Mary's asking me, how do I find out my timeline? Okay, look, so Mary, your question tells me that you don't totally understand timelines, but you always, what you really want is the timeline that is for your personal, this is a bigger conversation, because it depends on who you talk to. Like I once talked to a really advanced, gifted person, and he said to me, you don't want to ask for the highest and best, Lori. That's really going to stretch you. And I was like, yeah, it is going to stretch you. I want my highest and best. I didn't come here to play small. I didn't come here to live in the land of mediocre and accept mediocrity. But his viewpoint was, you know, I want the least amount required for my soul's work. Okay, he was really gifted. He didn't want any challenge. So I also found that in his reality, like when I interacted with him, he was a beautiful, incredible person. But he had a lot of darkness around him, a lot of stuff that I would never want to interact with. So for me, I know my answer to the question is I want my highest and best and most benevolent timeline. And that's what I work on an almost daily basis, because your timeline, every moment is changing. This is a timeline. This is a timeline. You don't realize it, that it's changing every moment, but every time you have a thought, like let's say your thought just veered off sometime and you had a thought like, oh, I'm worried that something bad will happen. I don't know. That you suddenly put yourself aligned with that, a timeline, that trajectory is happening. And that can now has space to come into your life experience. So the question you're asking is a very good question, because it requires you to really understand timings. But in the amount of time we have left, because we're wrapping up here actually. I mean, what I was hoping you was going to do is just give me more like feedback on what your experience was, but I'm still answering, you know, this question. It requires more. Sorry, I'm altered too. That's why I'm answering as well as usual, but you have to decide for yourself what you want. But for me, the answer is, and I think that that's what you want to be engaged in, aligning yourself with that on an ongoing basis, so that you're always leveling up to your highest and best and most benevolent. And then if somebody's giving you the finger on the freeway, you don't get entangled with it, because if you do get entangled with it, or if you do judge it, you've just gotten pulled off your highest and best timeline in a sense, or else that was an opportunity to level up and be like, wish you peace, master. I wish you peace. And I have no other business with you. Wish you peace. Good. Now I'm still on my highest and best, or I might have even leveled up better because I've given it the finger. You see, it's just an example. Just a teeny little example, but I hope it makes sense. I hope it helps. It's a big question you asked me the last 2 minutes, and I myself am in a bit of an altered state, so I hope that's helpful. Okay. Do we have anything else, or are we good? Mary said, I got it. Good, Mary. Then I'm glad I was able to be of service. So I don't see any other questions. I mean, I would love to hear just if there's any final chat notes, like, did you enjoy that? Did you like it? I mean, I was in such an altered state. You understand? A lot of that was channeled, and there's just all these beings coming, but I'd love to know if you, now I just opened the chat so I can see a couple of nice comments there. Thank you. This was awesome. Thank you so much. The knowledge and experience were wonderful. Thank you so much. This was fabulous. This was awesome. Okay, thank you. I love good feedback too. So of course that makes me happy. And Samaya, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Samaya. Thank you, Lori, for all you do and all that you give and all that you are. This was fabulous. Oh, I'm so glad. And lots of peaceful energy. Thanks. All right, you guys. And someone said, Mary said, amazing. Saw all some wonderful colors. All right, so that makes me so happy. Glad. This is the last thing I want to do for part and say goodbye for the evening. Oh, Lisa said, very amazed and inspired, felt some of the templates. That's awesome. What I want to leave you with is this. What we just got, what we just received is just starting, barely begun. So yeah, we had a great meditation and, you know, energy, and from your comments, it seems you all are glad, but you don't realize right now, because it's not a take a pill philosophy. You don't realize how this is forever altered and changed for the better. The gifts that will be revealed of this to you are going to come in the coming days and weeks and months and even years, where you start looking at your life and realizing you've changed. And yeah, it's all, you know, a little piece of it, but it's still less huge and magnificent, more change for you for the better in the future too. So I would like you all to stay with it, in replay, do it again. You can as often as you want, and definitely you can join me for other activations in the future. You can, if you want more. I hope it's okay if I say this part, and if it's not, they can edit it off, but you can head over to my website at lorispagna.com. We just put up.
Oop, it just
all the activations. So I'm back to season 15.
Your website
it's on
again?
sale right now.
It just froze up while you were saying your website. Can you say that one?
Yeah, it's It's my name. It's lorispagna.com. So LORISPAGNA.com. And yeah, you can head over there and there's a whole package of DNA activations from the past, like speed activations. I wanted to make them available because they were never available before. And those go back to 2015 in there. And yeah, the next live one that I do will be on 11/11. And other than that, I just want to say thank you to you ladies, you beautiful ladies, for helping us today. And I'm grateful that we were able to make it happen. And I want to say thank you to Neil and Saul as well, because they're just such beautiful, wonderful beings doing so much incredible work to help humanity and to share this kind of information and energy. And other than that, thank you guys so much. Yeah?
Thank you, Lori. You're awesome. Many
All right.
blessings. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
Awesome. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you guys. All right. Oh, my love. Bye-bye.
Bye.